Yes, hello and welcome to Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar for this Connacht Intermediate Football Championship final between the Mayo champions and the Roscommon champions. It's a day when one of them will be crowned High Kings of Connacht. It's Kilmeena, who are in action for the third time in 14 days against the Strokestown team that won the Roscommon senior title 3 years ago and booked their ticket back to today's intermediate final with a 2-goal win over Leitrim's Alan Gales last weekend. Yes, you're very welcome to Castlebar on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. And we'll take a check on the teams, starting with Kilmeena and their manager Damien Egan. Well, he's made 2 late changes to the side listed in the match programme. Nobody will be too surprised to hear that 17, Liam Moore, and 19, Cormac O'Malley, both start again in the Kilmeena forward line. Both of them stood out here a week ago in the facile semi-final victory over Killarney Mullinabrina, and they start at the expense of Conor Kelly and Daniel Kelly, who are among the substitutes. The Kilmeena team backboned by the likes of outstanding young fullback Kieran Kilcoyne, the dashing wing-back Jack Mulcrone, and a formidable midfield partnership of Jack Carney and Kevin Ryder. John McGlynn, the full forward, is the team's joint captain, along with the aforementioned Jack Mulcrone. So that's the way Kilmeena line out. Turning to Strokestown, and the Roscommon champions go as selected in the match programme. Players to watch out for here are centre-back Sean Mullooly and number 7, the team captain Colin Compton, both men with a lot of inter-county experience with Roscommon. Same goes for number 9, Colm Neary, who lines up alongside Fionn Cusick in the centre of the field. Up front, Shane McGinley, number 12, and Diarmuid McGann, number 13. They are the players that have been racking up big scores recently and catching the eye. McGann shot 1-7 against Alan Gales in that semi-final last weekend. That's the way Pierce McGinley lines out Strokestown for this final. Well, delighted to have Aidan Kilcoyne alongside me again, former Knockmore and Mayo footballer, and indeed former Knockmore manager as well in recent times. Aidan, we were here obviously last weekend to see Kilmeena get the job done against Killarney Mullinabrina. I know you've been watching tape during the week of Strokestown's win over Alan Gales. On paper, Kilmeena the favourites, and rightly so, I suppose, given their recent form and the fact this game is in Castlebar. But I know you've been impressed with what you've seen and heard about Strokestown as well.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the game today. I think it has all the ingredients to be a right good game. You know, you've got Kilmeena who play a very real disciplined, very structured game plan. They look to get bodies back and then counter at pace, mostly up through the middle with the running game of Jack Carney, Kevin Ryder in the middle, and then they're looking to kind of create opportunities for the Liam Moores, the Darius Larrys and the John McGlyns of this world, and they do play it really well. They're very comfortable in their game plan, and they have it down to a fine art. Kind of versus again with Strokestown, you know, they're real direct, hard, powerful running game. They like to kind of get off the shoulder, run the ball through the hands, and they've got some really, really strong players. You mentioned Sean Mullooly and Colm Compton. I expect Colm, he's named at 7. I expect possibly he could go to midfield. We know he's featured at midfield for Roscommon in the past, and his battle perhaps with Jack Carney could be massive in this game. And I think over the course of the hour, you expect a lot of momentum swings. Just walking across the pitch there, there's a big breeze blowing into the the town end, as we call it here in Castlebar, and that's going to be a big factor. I know Strokestown have won the toss and have gone with the wind, so they're going to need to get off to a really good start.
Yeah, just talk to me about that decision. We watched Colin Compton and Jack Mulcrone go in for the coin toss with Ronan Hines, and Colin Compton very definitely deciding to play with that strong wind. Would that have been your decision, given what you know about how Castlebar plays, and why do you think Colin Compton went that way?
I think coming into Castlebar, as we'll say, the away team as such, and going, on paper, the underdogs. I think the message from the management would have been, if we win the toss, let's go with the breeze, let's get all the advantages we can, make sure we're in this game going down the stretch, and try and get off to the best possible start. And obviously that big breeze is going to be a big factor with that.
So before the match gets underway, we'll pause for our round of Ian. So the strains of Our Own Aveen fade away in the background, and that is the cue for Kilmeena and Strokestown to take up their starting positions. It is the AIB Connacht Intermediate Football Final between the best intermediate team in Mayo and their opponents from Roscommon. Our match referee, as I mentioned, is Ronan Hines from Sligo. He's assisted today by Chris Ryan of Galway, Michael McGurl from Leitrim, and our fourth official is Thomas Murphy of Galway. So it's a very experienced team of officials. Aidan Kilcoyne, what are your final thoughts and who do you expect to win?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I've kind of tossed and turned over the week over who I think is going to win. I think Kilmeena at home, they've got good experience. They've come through tough games. We know obviously the success Crossmolina had in this championship last year, and I think Kilmeena are as good a side at intermediate level as Mayo have produced in a while as well. So I'm going to tip Kilmeena.
So away we go then. Strokestown to play with the strong wind in the first half from right to left down towards the old bacon factory end. A quick free already to Kilmeena, and this gives Jack Carney a chance to get his engine running. He is the driving force of this Kilmeena team around the middle of the field. So much inter-county experience. Kilmeena as a unit would know this pitch like the back of their hand. They've played so many big games here in recent seasons. This is Cormac O'Malley. His first effort hangs up in the breeze, and there's a push in the back there spotted by our referee Ronan Hines, and away goes Strokestown, playing in the very distinctive and familiar black and amber colours. That's a really good ball by Kevin Finn down this right hand side towards Jeremy McGann, beaten in that first battle though by John Ryan. He is the one of the go-to man markers in the Kilmeena defence as the West Mayo man switched the ball to the stand side, and Dara Slattery gets a touch. Now Colin Hastings, two young players who have broken in to this Kilmeena team in the last couple of seasons to slot into the vacancies left by the departure of around about 50% of the squad that would have won an All-Ireland junior title with the club 3 years ago. Jack Carney to John McGlynn. McGlynn returns the favour, and Carney cuts inside the 40-metre arc. This would be for a 1. Carney likes it, but it fades on that wind and drops away to the left and wide. First example, first illustration really, Aidan, of just how strong that breeze is.
Yeah, it's a really strong breeze. I think from Kilmeena's perspective, they'll be really pleased at how involved Jack Carney's already been in this game. He's been central already in the first minute and a half here, and Kilmeena from their perspective will really want Jack Carney to have a big game and get his hands on the ball as much as he possibly can.
Very strong winter sun shining down into the eyes of the Kilmeena goalkeeper right now. Keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for Mickey Kavanagh. Look at him go. Mickey Kavanagh for Strokestown opens the scoring in the Connacht Intermediate Football Final. He can move and he can finish.
Yeah, brilliant score. Obviously, the purists will be happy with that one. Route 1 direct kick out over the top. Brilliant win from the centre forward. Slips it to Mickey Kavanagh. Showed a great turn of pace and was able to just get away from Jack Carney. Jack Carney's efforts to dispossess, and a lovely score of his left foot. Good start for Strokestown.
Well, Strokestown certainly making full advantage of the strong wind. As Aidan mentioned, Niall Curley's booming kick out right over the middle, and that opened the door for Mickey Kavanagh to kick the Roscommon champions into the lead. Well, they were playing senior football, both of these teams, not that long ago. Kilmeena just relegated at the end of last season. Strokestown the year before, they dropped through the relegation trapdoor. In fact, very unlucky not to win the Roscommon intermediate title last year. Lost out to Elphin in a very tight game as they come on the attack again. It's Sean Mullooly, flicks it back to Colin Compton. These are two very highly regarded club and county footballers, but that was a really good piece of defending by Kilmeena to wrap up the ball carrier and turn him over and win a free. Jack Carney will take it. Paul Groden was making himself available. Here's Carney again. So much ball goes through the talented number 8. That's Liam Moore being picked up by Timmy Gibbons. That's not a surprise. Gibbons would be, again, one of the designated man markers in this Strokestown team. Jack Carney, really good take. Powers into the line, and Jack Carney swings over the equaliser. It's taken them a couple of minutes, but they're back on terms.
Yeah, brilliant score from Jack Carney. As I said earlier, he's been really central to this game. He took the free initially, was the guy who gave the kick pass into Liam Moore, followed it up and kicked a really good score.
So the sides level here at Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar. Good crowd in as well. They've made the short trip from Kilmeena in the case of the Mayo side, and the rather lengthy spin down from Strokestown. A lot of black and amber dotted around the stand as Shane McGinley gets on the ball. Flicks it across to Stephen Tighe into the corner for Keith Murphy. Nice, neat link play here by the Strokestown forwards. No long ball on this time because Jack Mulcrone has dropped back to sit in front of his full back line. So instead Strokestown will just play around the edges, and that will suit Kilmeena just fine as Colm Neary winds up from 50 metres. But even with the breeze, that was outside his range, and that will play right into Kilmeena's hands, of course.
Yeah, that's one thing from a Strokestown's perspective that they don't want to do, even though they have a strong breeze, is to overcook it and take on shots that just aren't on. And on that occasion, that ball just drops harmlessly into Paul Groden's hands, and Kilmeena can mount another attack. Just in terms of matchups, I see Shane McGinley is inside the full forward line with Jim McCann. He's currently been picked up by Kieran Kilcoyne, and Colin Compton has gone to centre back, and Sean Malooly has gone to midfield on Jack Carney.
So all the key matchups playing out as down the field goes Colm Neary, driving forward. Really good footballer. He is one of the main men when it comes to linking defence and attack for Strokestown. Here's another one, Kevin Finn. They have been around the block, Strokestown. So many of these players have county senior championship medals. Mickey Kavanagh cuts in, makes an angle. Mickey Kavanagh looking to draw it in, and Mickey Kavanagh with a spectacular score, his second, to put Strokestown back in front.
That's a brilliant score from Mickey Kavanagh. He got Strokestown's first score off his left. This one he kicks off his right. Lovely sidestep just to create the space, and showed a good turn of pace as well to get away from his marker, and a brilliant finish, albeit backed by the wind, but judged perfectly.
This kick-out setup is very interesting, Aidan, because Kilmeena have left a lot of space on the wings for Groden to hit, who ironically has gone down the middle and hit a Strokestown midfielder.
Yeah, and it's also interesting the press that Strokestown are putting in. They've got two in the full forward line, one kind of near like a triangle, and then three outside it, so they are...
Oh, Diarmuid McGann! That is absolutely extraordinary. Well, we told you in the lead-up he was one to watch. 1-7 against Alan Gales. He's red hot. And the minute he got that ball, he didn't think twice. He just pulled the trigger, and it was headed for the car park at the back of the goal.
Super score from Jim McGann. Brilliant score. Just got it and turned, knew exactly what he wanted to do, knew where the posts were, and backed himself, and he caught it on the money, and it flew over. Brilliant score. And Strokestown now looking to assert their dominance. That's the last 2 or 3 kickouts they've won from Paul Groden's kickout, and Kilmeena will need to get their hands on this ball, as you see kind of the Strokestown press shape is again.
It's a very, very well thought out press by Strokestown. Pierce McGinley and company have been doing their homework on Paul Groden by the looks of it, and they've won another Kilmeena kick-out. Remember, Kilmeena playing against the wind. They're now 2 down, and Strokestown looking to make hay while the sun shines. Into the corner they go again, looking for that man, Diarmuid McGann, out in front of John Ryan. Sitting in the pocket, it's Kevin Finn. Kilmeena looking to get organised as Colin Compton floats this in. Nobody at home in the Strokestown full forward line. I see Paul Groden has fished a baseball cap out of his gear bag. Not surprised to see that. It is a very strong sun that he's having to deal with in this opening half, as Kilmeena play themselves out of trouble down along this McHale Road side of the field, and Dara Slattery quite literally directing operations as he carries the ball forward. Allowed to advance into the Strokestown half, now plays a hand pass to Ronan O'Donnell, and here comes Colin Hastings flying up from wing back. Support from Slattery, who continued the run, and Dara Slattery shows Kilmeena in full flight with a lovely score.
Brilliant score from Dara Slattery, and greatly assisted from Colin Hastings. What was interesting in that move was the wing back David Neary from Strokestown was sitting in as the +1, but the running game engaged him, and he was actually the last man that Colin Hastings met before he slipped the pass to Dara Slattery, and Dara Slattery stuck a great score.
Strokestown this time with a short kick-out routine off Niall Curley, and Colm Neary. He is eating up the ground at his leisure here. Every time he gets that ball, he makes hard yards look easy. Nice drop of the shoulder from McGinley, looking to play the hand pass. Instead, pops it over on the run. Well, he was trying to square it, I think, for Kevin Finn for a tap in or a palm in to the empty net, but instead the angle got too tight, and McGinley decided to take his own score. But Strokestown, when they attack, look very dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. When they get ball into Jeremy McGann and Shane McGinley, those two guys seem to have the better of their direct opponent at the moment, and they look really, really dangerous.
They've been averaging 216 in their game so far, Strokestown. Kilmeena coming in around the 21 points mark, so that will tell you we should have a lot of scores. That's a really good hit on Kevin Ryder by Colin Compton. Free goes Strokestown's way as well, and clenched fists and big roars all around the field as Strokestown celebrate that win. Kevin Finn gives it inside towards Keith Murphy, wrapped up by 3 Kilmeena defenders. Colin Hastings picks his pocket, and Colin Hastings wins the free. I have to say, overall, Aidan, the first 10 minutes have been high energy, high octane, and really enjoyable.
Yeah, very enjoyable. It's exactly kind of how we thought it was going to be. Kilmeena trying to, take the small bit of the stinger of the game, be a bit more structured in their attacking play, certainly. Whereas Strokestown, when they get the ball, they're looking to move it up the pitch as quickly as they can, whether it's through the hands or through the feet, and it's making for a really entertaining first 10 minutes.
Cormac O'Malley, the teenager from Kilmeena, gets his hands on the ball to Kevin Ryder. Just clips it across to Colin Hastings, who's come up to join the attack from defence again, looking to come in on the backdoor cut. It's Slattery, lovely flick to John Ryan, and Ryan fizzes that shot up and over the bar. Well, on another day it would have nestled in the back of the net, but John Ryan content to take the point. Not quite sure how he found himself on the edge of the square, but John Ryan leaves us with a 1-point game.
Yeah, a lovely well-worked move from Kilmeena again. Dara Slattery central to it, came with a lovely run in off the sideline towards the centre of the goals, and if the hand pass had just been a little bit better, I think there would have definitely been a clear-cut goal chance. But Kilmeena did well. They kept the ball going and kicked a great score from John Ryan.
Ball broken down by Jack Carney into the path of Kevin Ryder. Now Slattery, runners break left and right. One of them is big Cormac O'Malley. Shot blocked down by Sean Mullooly, who made himself big, and Kilmeena have to try a different avenue of attack. It's Dara Slattery again, their young playmaker, flicks it back outside to Cormac O'Malley, and this will be more of a structured set play. Their manager Damien Egan saying during the week they have a very definite method to how they play. That's very obvious, and it has served them well over the last few months, but this time that attack broke down. But the officials have spotted a breach, I think, by Strokestown, and this will give Kilmeena a chance to put a score on the board. We haven't seen this happen very often in the last few weeks, Aidan, but it just shows you sometimes all it takes is one guy to switch off and you're caught.
Yeah, Jack Carney for certain will be pleased that there was a breach. He got caught in two minds. I think he was going to go for a longer crossfield kick pass, and at the last second he tried to just slip it a little shorter, and it was a turnover, and it looked like a dangerous attacking opportunity for Strokestown. And as you say, just one person switches off, and now Kilmeena are going to make it a tight game.
John McGlynn with his first score of the Connacht final. Teams are level for the second time here at Hastings Insurance McHale Park. It is 4 points apiece, and I think the referee there actually is just confirming that was a wide ball, was it?
I just saw the umpire make the signal that it was wide. I see the scoreboard here, it hasn't changed, and very surprisingly it looks like John McGlynn has missed that one.
Well, I have to admit, from that range, John McGlynn does not miss, but he just has, it seems. Now, he put a lot of height on it. He was kicking into that strong sun, and I'm not making excuses for him, but something didn't go right, so it's 4-3. That's a big let-off for Strokestown. Lovely dummy solo. Stephen Tighe, Colin Compton! Oh, what a finish by Colin Compton. The Strokestown captain leading by example, coming into the line at high speed and crashing that ball to the back of the net. It's a 4-point swing here in Castlebar, and it is a hammer blow for Kilmeena.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a huge, turning point in the game. What should be a tight game, and all of a sudden Strokestown go up the pitch and get an absolutely brilliant goal. Massive finish from Colin Compton, showed great composure and stuck it in the top corner, but a brilliant piece of play from Stephen Tighe to create the opportunity. Lovely dummy solo, defender bought it hook, line and sinker, and he still had the composure to pick the right pass, and again, as I say, brilliant finish from Colin Compton. That's a super goal.
Well, since very early on in his career, Colin Compton has stood out from the crowd, broke through to play underage and senior with the Rossies, and he is a terrific finisher as well. He made that look very easy. Now Strokestown have another chance to extend the lead, because Ronan Hines has spotted a tug on the arm of Keith Murphy right in front of the Kilmeena goal, and this gives Diarmuid McGann a chance to get in some shooting practice. Remember, it's Strokestown with the wind, looking to build out a lead heading into half-time, and they've now gone 1-5 to 3 points in front, and there's no doubt right now they are full value for that lead.
Absolutely, Mike, yeah, and from a Kilmeena perspective, Damien Egan and his management team, they're going to have to look at the full back line, whether they think about putting a +1 in or dropping someone in front to stop that early ball going in, because Shane McGinley, Diarmuid McCann and Keith Murphy all are getting the better of their direct opponents, and they're causing real problems for the Kilmeena defence.
So it is a 5-point game here in Castlebar as Strokestown win another Kilmeena kick-out. Really, Fionn Cusick and Colm Neary now are beginning to make a platform. That's Shane McGinley, and that is a very near miss for Kilmeena, just wide away to the right. Kilmeena get off the hook there. McGinley still looking to get his eye in. He scored once already, and if he gets into the groove, it will be good news for Strokestown. But right now, Kilmeena just having to watch Strokestown enjoy the momentum as the Roscommon champions begin to stitch a few very nice moves together. That's a good kick out by Paul Groden, picks out Ronan O'Donnell, he gives it to Colin Hastings, and Kilmeena are out of defence. Here's Ronan O'Donnell again, a little decoy run made just in front of him by Kevin Ryder, and that opens up some space. Jack Carney just drops onto his shoulder. Carney looking to make some headway. Now Jack Mulcrone coming on the loop, trying not to get painted into a corner here, so he gives it inside to Cormac O'Malley. Back to Mulcrone. Jack Carney goes down off the ball, Mulcrone goes down on the ball. David Neary it was who clattered into him, and Ronan Hines has given the free in, and this will be a second chance for John McGlynn to make a first impression, Aidan.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one, like, as a free taker, having missed the previous one, it's actually a lovely one to get. You can right the wrongs very quickly and get back on the horse, as they say.
So this time John McGlynn takes no chances, makes no mistake. He's back in business, and it is now 1-5 to 4 points. They had conceded 1-1 there in the matter of a couple of minutes. Now Kilmeena back on the board as all eyes turn to Niall Curley, the Strokestown goalkeeper. Colm Neary again, imperious in the air, timed his run and his leap, and again he's made 30 yards there in the blink of an eye. Goes long, flicked by John Ryan, back towards his own goal. Groden's in trouble, goal chance. Shane McGinley with a second Strokestown goal, and one of the most bizarre and unusual ones you'll see for quite a while. It was the backpedaling John Ryan who fisted the ball back towards his own goal. Paul Groden was scrambling, and McGinley with a poacher's finish.
Yeah, I suppose from Kilmeena's perspective, they won't be pleased with conceding that goal. All came from Colm Neary with a brilliant fetch from the kick-out, drove forward, speculative enough ball in. John Ryan, I think, just got caught under it and fisted backwards. But I think Paul Groden, I don't know if he lost his footing as the ball spilled or what, but he'd certainly be disappointed to not have held on to that one. I know obviously there is a strong sun, right on top of him, but he really should be dealing with that one a little bit better.
So a second Strokestown goal, the latest from Shane McGinley, and now the Roscommon champions very much in the driving seat. Well, that strong wind is really giving them something to work with, and this man, Colm Neary, has been outstanding as he just goes by Jack Mulgrone as if he wasn't there. Neary with the backdoor cut. There are runners coming from all sides. It's McGinley looking to hold off Kilcoyne. He goes for goal, and Groden with the save. It's Mullooly. That is quite the intervention by Jack Carney there, who just threw himself across. Well, it's all hands to the pump for Kilmeena now, who are under serious pressure. Strokestown attacking relentlessly in waves. This is Diarmuid McGann. It's going to go close. Drops just short and gathered by Groden. Let's take another look at this latest goal chance. Well, Strokestown feel now they have their foot on Kilmeena's throat, Aidan, and they're really going for it.
Yeah, absolutely. They've really up the speed over the last 2 or 3 minutes, and they're going for the juggler. And Shane McGinley on that occasion, I suppose, confidence high after having the previous effort and getting the goal. Took on the shot. Good save from Paul Groden, to be fair, did really well with it. And that, Kilmeena would be delighted to have gone up the pitch. And Liam Moore, we haven't seen a lot of him, but first shot at the post, and his eye is in as it usually is, with a brilliant score.
So that's Liam Moore with his first score of the day. It's taken him a while to get on the ball, and Liam Moore makes it 2-5. So 2-5 Strokestown, 5 points Kilmeena as we swing into the last 10 minutes of the first half. It's another free to Strokestown. It's that man again, Shane McGinley. Well, they have obviously studied Kilmeena very closely. They have found their Achilles heel, their weaknesses, and they are really trying to go after those pinch points now.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I think from the very beginning, they've gone direct. They've identified whether it's a weakness in Kilmeena or just that they're playing to their strengths with that breeze. They're going direct to that full forward line, and they're each of the three of them are winning their individual battles. That time, Shane McGinley again. To be fair, I thought Kieran Kilcoyne was a little bit unlucky. I thought he actually had done really well and got the turnover, but the referee adjudged that he'd made the foul.
This, I think, is just inside the arc. It comes back off the post. There's a scramble in the goal mouth. That's Keith Murphy. Wrapped up in after it goes Diarmuid McGann, and the referee gives Kilmeena the benefit of the doubt. But every time that ball goes in around the square, it's panic stations. It's a turnover. It's happened again. Strokestown could be in. Goal chance. McGinley denied by Groden, but there was a foul. Was it inside or outside the square? It was just outside, I think, decides Ronan Hines. Well, the Kilmeena goal is living a charmed life, and it's been quite a while since I've seen their defence and Paul Groden under this sort of pressure.
Yeah, they're really under the pump at the minute, Mike, and a little bit through their own doing there on that occasion. You mentioned about the sharpness and that the Strokestown guys just looked that little bit sharper. They're quicker to react, as we've seen when the ball came off the post. And even on that occasion, as Kilmeena were coming out with the ball, Shane McGinley read the pass, brilliant interception, and if it wasn't for that last ditch kind of push as he was striking it, I think that ball would have been in the net for a third goal. So Kilmeena really just need to weather this storm, get their hands on the ball, kill the game a little bit, and just creep themselves back into this game.
Well, that free from Kevin Finn means that Strokestown have outscored Kilmeena 2-2 to 2 points in the last 8 or 9 minutes. The goals from Colin Compton and Shane McGinley really doing the damage as Strokestown again stitch a lovely move together. Here's Stephen Tighe. He has room to manoeuvre and room to finish, and the Roscommon champions right now are in a lovely rhythm.
Yeah, and they're really asserting the dominance around the middle, both in the air and breaking ball as well. We seen last week Kilmeena totally dominated Killarney Mullabrina, but today they're really been second best, as I say, in the air and on the ground. So it's something Damien Egan and the management team really need to get something going here.
Well, we mentioned it in the scene set. This is Kilmeena's third game in 14 days. They had to go to extra time a couple of weeks ago to beat Caltra up in Tuam, and it just feels right now, Aidan, that's starting to catch up with them. As you said, again, they're second best there in a 50-50 battle.
Yeah, they do look a little bit leggy, and they, to be fair to Strokestown, they're top of the ground and they're attacking everything, and they're attacking with huge pace, huge aggression when it comes to the one-on-one physical battles, and they are the dominant force in this game over the last 10-15 minutes for sure.
7 minutes of normal time to play, and the Strokestown forward line throwing the ball around with confidence and flair. McGinley He's unstoppable. Flicks it across. Goal chance for Keith Murphy. Just wide. Referee had blown his whistle to give a free out to Kilmeena anyway. It wouldn't have counted, but that is another goal chance for Strokestown. One after another, they are racking them up. They've taken two, and you feel there's more goals in them. They
look really dangerous every time they attack. They look like they can create, whether it's a goal chance or easy point scoring opportunities. And as I say, their full forward line are having the better of the one-on-one battles with the Kilmeena full back line. And I really do feel that Kilmeena is certainly for the next 7-8 minutes for the rest of this half. They need to get a more solid defensive structure, whether it's sacrificing someone to sit back in there on a permanent basis, because if they don't, this game could be beyond them.
So right now it is Strokestown who are in a defensive formation. It is Kilmeena on the ball. Cormac O'Malley to the left side to Stephen Staunton, one of the All-Ireland Junior medal winners of 2022. Now it is Dara Keaveney, and this is back out to Jack Carney, looking to stand up the Strokestown man, throw him off the scent. The decoy run made across by Liam Moore, but Jack Carney ran down a blind alley, and there were a couple of Strokestown lads waiting for him. Another turnover, and the fast break is on for Keith Murphy here, looking to get away from Kieran Kilcoyne. Kilcoyne does well though to hold him up. That allows Kilmeena to get bodies back into their own half, clog up some channels, and Strokestown's attack just loses a little momentum. Compton, the man who scored the first goal, gives it across towards David Neary. Neary thought about going long, but now Kilmeena have Cormac O'Malley back in front of the Kilmeena full back line, so the long ball in over the top right now just isn't on for Strokestown. So instead they will take the scenic route, and Colin Compton will wait for the arrival inside and off his shoulder of Dylan Owens up from full back. Here's Jeremy McGann. A lot of nice angled runs being made by Strokestown players just to drag and stretch that Kilmeena backline out of shape. Compton again. 5 minutes to go in the first half. Strokestown of Roscommon looking to win their first ever Connacht intermediate title, in the lead. This is Kevin Finn. Well, they waited and waited. Finn it was who got the shot off just outside his range.
Yeah, it was a really patient move from Strokestown, and they created the opportunity well. I thought after Kevin Finn had hit it that it was going to carry, but it just dropped short and gives Kilmeena an opportunity to come forward again. Incidentally, over the last probably 10-15 minutes, actually, Colin Compton has gone on to Jack Carney, and what we're seeing is Cullum Neary is been picked up by Jack McCrone, and Jack McCrone is going all the way deep in with Cullum Neary, which is making Kilmeena have 4 up when they're defending, and it's just creating an extra bit of space up top for the Strokestown forwards, which is an interesting one to see that Jack is following them all the way in.
Reckless challenge there by David Neary. He's picked up a yellow card quite needlessly, really, because Liam Moore looked as though he was out of possession there, certainly struggling to get the ball under control, but a clumsy challenge and a chance for John McGlynn to hit back for Kilmeena, who really do need a score now. So John McGlynn from point blank range knocks over his second free, just to again get that scoreboard moving. It keeps Kilmeena in touch, and it is worth remembering, Aidan, isn't it, that Kilmeena will have the wind in the second half.
Yeah, that was a really important score, and if Kilmeena can tack on maybe one or ideally 2 more before half time and keep it at a 6 or even a 5-point game, it gives them a great opportunity going into the second half, because that is a really strong breeze.
So Strokestown still with that 2-goal cushion. How valuable will those scores turn out to be? Time will tell, as Kevin Ryder just struggles to get that ball up into his hands. It's made quite a lot of rain in this part of the world over the last couple of days, and the conditions, the working conditions, not as easy as these players would like in terms of underfoot. Here's Liam Moore looking to get going. Moore gets his shot in. It's on target, and it is spectacularly up and over the bar. Liam Moore, well, when he fires, Kilmeena fire, and that's his second score.
That's a brilliant score from Liam Moore. We've spoken so much about him, but he continues to deliver. That's a superb kick over his right shoulder, going away from goal to curl it right over the black spot. But credit to Dara Keaveney, very clever piece of play. It brought his defender right into the end line to create that space in front of him, so that he could receive the kick pass from Kevin Ryder. Won the ball really well and slipped it to Moore, who kicked a phenomenal score.
2 in a row for Kilmeena. and they draw to within 6 again of the pace setters as Shane McGinley weighs up his options. McGinley with the super strike right over the top of the post, and the umpires have given it. Well, that is quite the score. It's a 2-pointer, of course, signalled by Ronan Hines. The first of the day. It was worth waiting for, but Aidan Kilcoyne, it was very, very close.
Yeah, really close. It's a brilliant score, and to be fair, I feel sorry for the umpires, because watching it, as we have a great view of it, the posts were actually moving as the ball was going over it, so it made it even more difficult to see whether it was over the post or just inside it. But we'll give the forward the benefit of the doubt on this occasion, Mike, because it was a brilliant kick from Shane McGinley, and great 2-pointer, and Strokestown push out their lead further again.
That's now a goal and 3 for Shane McGinley in this first half. An injury here, a collision, a heavy collision. 2 Kilmeena men down. One of them is Jack Carney. I'm not quite sure who the second man is just yet, but it is 2 Kilmeena men who have come off the worst after that nasty collision. And this will be a real concern for Damien Egan, Pádraig Moore and Johnny Madden over there, who have had their work cut out in any event in this first half. They've had to do quite a lot of work on the hoof, particularly under such pressure, their defence being under such pressure, as we tick closer and closer to half time. And Jack Carney is hobbling very, very gingerly on that what looks like left ankle.
Yeah, very worrying from a Kilmeena perspective. They will not want to see Jack Carney kind of hobbling and walking so gingerly. He did get a bad knock, and hopefully he can run it off. I'm sure he'll be doing everything in his power to stay on the pitch, because Kilmeena will need him. And with second half in mind, and that breeze, Jack is a 2-point threat as well, but he does not look good.
Well, Jack Carney looks to be really struggling. We'll have 2 minutes of added time. Kieran Kilcoyne is good to go. Here's John McGlynn looking to cut in around the back. Kilmeena trying to hit Strokestown where it hurts at pace here, but Strokestown have got bodies back now to protect the D, to protect that 2-point arc. Stephen Staunton. Here's Jack Carney, tripped as he tried to go by the Strokestown man, and if that was deliberate, and it was, black card. Kevin Finn is going to the sin bin. Deliberate trip by the Strokestown centre forward on Jack Carney. That's the way Ronan Hines saw it. Kevin Finn is arguing his case, but to no avail. Strokestown are down to 14 men for the next 10 minutes, and that could turn out to be quite a big moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one I'd love to see back, to be honest, Mike. I think Kevin Finn could have a case to feel hard done by there. I think he was genuinely going to make the tackle. He's lost his footing, and he did catch Jack Carney, to be fair, but I don't believe it was a deliberate trip. But from a Kilmeena's perspective, they'll take that all day.
John McGlynn with another chance and another score, and I think we can confirm now the Kilmeena comeback is very much in full swing. Jack Carney is still moving very gingerly and awkwardly on that left ankle. Doesn't look right, but he did muster up enough energy to get on the ball there a moment ago and win a free. He will be hoping to get in at half time and get patched up as Kilmeena come to within 7 points of Strokestown again, looking to get another one on the board perhaps before the half-time whistle, as dark clouds begin to roll in over the stadium here in McHale Park. It has that feeling that rain isn't very far away, as the referee Ronan Hines blows the half-time whistle just a couple of seconds shy of that 2 minutes of added time, and both teams get a big reception from their supporters as they head towards the tunnel. Strokestown, I think, are going to be let down that tunnel first by the looks of things. But Aidan Kilcoyne, let's get your thoughts, your summary of what has been an action-packed first half.
Yeah, that I was just going to say, it's first and foremost, it's been a really enjoyable first half of football. Two, as I say, contrasts and styles, but so enjoyable. Some absolutely phenomenal scores from the very get-go. Mickey Kavanagh first as he sprinted through the Kilmeena defence, and himself, Shane McGinley, Jieran McGann and Keith Murphy up top for Strokestown have been absolutely electric. From a Kilmeena perspective, they started really strong with Jack Carney really to the fore. They kind of lost their ways, particularly around the middle, but over the last 5-10 minutes they've come back into the game really strongly, and have given themselves an opportunity to really go at this second half. They'll be backed by the breeze for the second half. And I think the game is still there. I think it's it's still all to be played for. The black card just before half time will obviously mean Kilmeena have a man advantage for the first 10 minutes second half, and that could prove crucial. They'll certainly need to get off to a good start in second half.
Well, we're watching now some of the highlights of the first half's action, and the scoreboard tells its own story. The goals are really the big difference at the moment, and very shortly we're going to watch the first of them from the Strokestown captain Colin Compton, the second one from Shane McGinley, and truth be told, Kilmeena fortunate not to have conceded more goals in that first half.
Yeah, Strokestown have, as you said, looked really sharp up front, really dangerous, and that first goal was a super bit of play. It came from a brilliant fetch from Cullimneary. Stephen Tighe showed a lovely bit of skill, lovely dummy solo, slipped the pass to Colin Compton, and a brilliant finish. And from the second one, again, Cullimneary was to the fore, speculative ball in. It's one Kilmeena won't want to see back too often. I think the keeper probably should do a little bit better. But to be fair to Paul Groden, he redeemed himself with a couple of really good saves immediately after that.
Kilmeena 8 points on the board, 3 of them from John McGlynn frees. Their attack just not firing the way we would have seen in recent weeks, but you mentioned it, the wind is a big factor, and it really did help Strokestown and made life difficult for Kilmeena.
It is, yeah. It's a really strong breeze, and I think first and foremost it means shooting into it is more tricky, but almost as importantly is the difficulty they're having to get their kickouts out. Paul Groden's been under a serious bit of pressure with the Strokestown press, and we've seen that fabulous 2-point effort from Shane McGinley there, but Strokestown have won the majority of the battles around midfield, and that's been a big problem for Kilmeena. They're not probably getting enough ball up front to give their forwards opportunity to create the chances, and they've been playing kind of with limited possession, and that's something obviously going into the second half that Damien Egan and management team are really going to have to hone in on and get right.
So that is the story of the first half. No doubt Pierce McGinley and Strokestown will be the happier dressing room at the break, but still a long way to go. And remember, the Roscommon champions will be down to 14 men for around about 8 minutes at the start of this second half. Kevin Finn in the sin bin. But at half time here at Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar in the AIB Connacht Intermediate Football Final, it's Strokestown who lead Kilmeena by 2-9 to 8 points. We'll be back very shortly with second half commentary. Yes, you're very welcome back to Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar. The big news here is that Jack Carney has not re-emerged ahead of the start of the second half. Picked up quite a heavy ankle injury at the tail end of the first half. Tried to run it off, but obviously he has been deemed unfit to start this second half. And it's Daniel Kelly, number 15, who comes into the Kilmeena team. Aidan Kilcoyne, what a loss he's going to be if he's not able to come back in. Yeah, that's a big blow from Kilmeena's perspective. We were just saying there, sometimes half time with a knock like that can be a bad thing because you get cold and it really seizes up on you. So, you know, perhaps a bit extra treatment for Jack. They'll be able to get him back onto the pitch at some stage in the second half, but it's a big blow and, you know, big boots for Daniel Kelly to fill, and it'll be interesting to see who Kilmeena move to midfield as we look around to see where the matchups are at. Just looking around the field, Strokestown go as they were by the looks of things. No changes at half time, and easy to see why. Pierce McGinley is taking the attitude, if it's not broke, don't fix it. His team have played some really good football to put themselves in a match-winning position as Shane McGinley gets on the ball again. Goal scorer in the opening half to his partner in crime, as it were, Diarmuid McGann. And now Sean Mullooly, that distinctive stride of the Strokestown centre-back, looking to get involved here in an attack, and has managed to win a line ball there off Jack Mulcrone. Well, a lot of people talking here at half-time about the unusual wind we have in Castlebar. It's swirling around the stadium. For the most part, it was to the advantage of Strokestown in the first half. That's Diarmuid McGann, and that very nearly was another one for his personal highlights reel. Very close. But just talk to us again, Aidan, about that breeze. You've played here a lot during your career. You know how it happens to swing and to sway, and it takes a bit of harnessing, this particular breeze, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It does for sure. It's one that can be tricky to judge. It's certainly, when you're on the pitch, it is a little bit easier to gauge it. It's definitely blowing into the town end, coming from kind of left to right, but it can move very quickly, and if you put the ball up in the air, it can take it away quite easily. So it's one that the Kilmeena forwards, especially in this second half, want to be aware of and just to be conscious of. Well, we know from previous experience watching them here against Moy Davids in the county final, they have 2-point shooters in their squad. One of them was Liam Moore there, who tried to do just that. Shot blocked down. Again, Strokestown's homework paying off. They have seen and heard all about Liam Moore and company. And that's a really good run out of defence. Remember, Strokestown right now playing with 14 men. Mickey Kavanagh drops the shoulder and he's gone. McGann was just breaking off his inside right, and that very nearly stuck. And if it had, Strokestown were in on goal. Instead, it's Kilmeena who come away. This is Cormac O'Malley looking up, spotting the run just ahead of him of the substitute Daniel Kelly, who's come in off the bench. Recycled back to Ronan O'Donnell. O'Donnell was looking to go wide right there, but nobody had moved into position, and this is where Kilmeena will feel the loss of Jack Carney, because so often he's the man that goes into position when Kilmeena are in this sort of territory. And with Jack Carney gone off injured, they lose so much, as Jack Mulcrone backs himself for 45 metres for a 2-pointer, and that is just scrambled away for a 45 by Niall Curley. But we can see already with the breeze what Kilmeena are trying to do. Yeah, certainly Kilmeena are looking to make use of that wind and get as many scores as quickly as they can while they have the one-man advantage. What they do need to be mindful of is that they don't just wastefully, kick for the sake of kicking because they have the breeze. They still need to get it into shooting range, which, throughout the course of the Mayo Championship and into the semi-final last weekend, they have been very good at. Well, this is a good gauge of the wind as well. Paul Groden off target from the 45, but distance not an issue. That's now a few efforts they've had on goal. They've left empty-handed. Yeah, and they've started quite well in terms of possession, but they haven't put anything on the scoreboard, and it's something that they will need to, over the next couple of minutes, really put right very quickly. So, be one to keep an eye on. Niall Curley now wearing the baseball cap. He's having to contend with that strong sun, that low sun that's shining into his eyes as Kilmeena win possession off the Strokestown kick-out. Kevin Ryder, he'll really now have to up his game with Jack Carney gone, and that time he was crowded out That's something the Strokestown have been really good at in this game. When the Kilmeena runners try to break the line, they are corralled by a couple of Strokestown outriders, and that time turned over Kevin Ryder as Colin Compton again comes out of defence. So good on the ball, across to Sean Mullooly. They are two linchpins in the Strokestown defence. Here's another one, David Neary, looking to go long, but not as easy against that wind, and Kieran Kilcoyne wins the foot race ahead of Shane McGinley, and away by John Ryan to Stephen Staunton. This is better now from Kilmeena as they try to get into some sort of a rhythm. Spilled by Cormac O'Malley, who managed to make up for lost time there and get on the ball at the second attempt. Wins his free and knocks it across to Colin Hastings. A lot of movement ahead of him. This is Daniel Kelly. Hastings continued the run. Now Liam Moore. All the while Strokestown and their defence being organised by Sean Mullooly, who's standing very patiently with his hands on his hips on the penalty spot. Cormac O'Malley, another 2-point option, doesn't get hold of that at all though, and that's the point you were making, Aidan. Shooting for the sake of shooting and giving the ball right back to Strokestown.
Yeah, on that occasion Cormac O'Malley took the ball standing, no real momentum, and tried to really force it, and as a result technique goes out the window and pops it up in the air, kind of slicey. Interestingly, Liam Moore seems to be playing further out the pitch in the second half, and maybe that's with trying to get him into 2-point range.
Free into Kilmeena here. It was Jack Mulcrone raiding again from defence who asked the question, and Strokestown give away the free. Kevin Finn still cooling his heels over there on the far side in the sin bin. Kilmeena are getting ready to make a change by the looks of things. They are going to bring in an impact sub any moment now. It's a hot ball actually in the end that the referee gives there outside the arc, and it's that man Colm Neary, midfield powerhouse for Strokestown. That is some piece of skill and fancy footwork as well to get himself out of trouble. He is putting in some shift. The Strokestown number 9 lays the ball off to David, and David Neary gives it back to Colm again. So comfortable in possession. This time though Strokestown are very tight to the line, and it was a little bit of over elaboration. They've held on too long. Free goes against them for over carrying, and it's a solo and goal from Dara Keaveney outside the 2-point arc. Keaveney lets fly, and that's another missed chance for Kilmeena.
Yeah, once again just forcing the shot. You know, Dara Keaveney did so well to create the turnover. Some brilliant tackling here in front of us on the line. You know, takes a solo and go, and you know he put a lot of effort into the play up to that point. Probably would have been better to recycle it and keep the attack going, but you know took on the shot, and again it's another one short, which is really a killer from Kilmeena's perspective.
So can Strokestown bring that senior championship experience to bear here down the stretch in this second half? Can they keep Kilmeena at a safe distance? Right now, with just 14 players out there, they are really doing a good job against the wind of holding possession, forcing Kilmeena to chase shadows, and I have to say their ball skills and their ability to get out of tight corners very impressive, as Shane McGinley shows us another example. Mullooly off his shoulder at high speed is Keith Murphy. Super score by Strokestown. Total football and finish by Keith Murphy.
And that's an absolutely superb score from Strokestown. You know, in real tight spaces, under real pressure. The Kilmeena forwards really put them under a lot of pressure to come out, but they worked the ball really well, as I say, in tight spaces, through the hands, all, you know, taking the right option. Their handling was excellent. The execution of their passing was great. And then Keith Murphy takes a really good line, hard line of running, and opens up the whole thing and kicks a really good score. That's a super bit of play from Strokestown.
Well, Cormac O'Malley, the Leaving Cert student in the Kilmeena team, has just been taken off. Just didn't happen for him today, and it's Conor Kelly who's come in. So the Kellys, Conor and Daniel, both on for Kilmeena. Jack Carney off injured. Cormac O'Malley now on the sideline as well, as another Kilmeena attack perishes on the rock that is Dylan Casey, the corner back, under pressure, has to use that ball a little quicker than he would have liked, and he's given Keith Murphy a bit of work to do, shut down by Jack Mulcrone there, who chased pretty much a lost cause and does really well to get there, as Damien Egan decides to make another change and freshen things up a little more, and it's big Brian Durkin who's going to come in. John McGlynn is the player who's been taken out. Well, Brian Durkin made a big impact here against Coolani Mullinabrina last weekend. He is 6'4" in his stockings. He's a huge man. He's gone right into the edge of the square, and I think Damien Egan now has decided it's time to go back to basics.
Yeah, well, as we've seen kind of early in this second half, Kilmeena are, taking those shots on from distance, and if that's going to be their tactic, there are going to be balls dropping short, and having a guy the size of Brian Durkin in around the square might not be a bad idea. I suppose the one counteract of that is they've taken off their free taker, and if this game goes down the stretch, that'll be something. Have they someone who's going to be able to kick those frees now that John McGlynn has left the field?
Well, Kilmeena, if they're going to win this game over the next 20 minutes, are going to have to do it without Jack Carney, without John McGlynn, and they'll be looking to the likes of this man, Dara Keaveney, who backs himself but didn't get hold of that at all, and a Kilmeena team that has been racking up big scores against Moy Davits, Caltra and Coolani Mullinabrina, still stuck on 8 points after 40 minutes. Yeah,
that's been a big factor of Kilmeena today. They're just not as fluid as we've normally seen them in attack, and you have to give Strokestown great credit for that. They dominated midfield in the first half, and they're putting the Kilmeena forwards under real pressure, and as we say, without the likes of Jack Carney around the middle, who creates so much with his running power and his ability to drop the shoulder, it's something Kilmeena, they're going to have to find a way to get back into this game.
So Strokestown back up to 15 players again. Kevin Finn has done his time in the sin bin, so Strokestown back up to the full complement as they lead here by double scores in the Connacht Intermediate Final. Ronan O'Donnell with a pot shot from long range, and that is not going to work out either. Makes a hero really out of Dylan Casey, who takes it down in front of his own goal, and that's away by Keith Murphy to the far side, who with Stephen Tighe ready and waiting. Tighe looking to take on Stephen Staunton. He has him for pace here. Chasing after him is Luke Durkin. Strokestown with an abundance of attacking talent, an array of quick thinking and fleet-footed forwards. Quick hands here by McGann. This is Mickey Kavanagh. They've cut right through, but would you believe there's a breach at the other end? Strokestown have really butchered that chance. The referee's attention was brought to something at the other end. That was why the whistle blew, and now we have a man down in front of the Kilmeena goal as well. I'm not quite sure how he ended up on the deck, but Ronan Hines is going to have to go back to where he started from to find out how Mickey Kavanagh ended up on the floor. Meanwhile, when the game restarts, it looks like it will be a Kilmeena free from about 55 metres out.
Yeah, an interesting one. Mickey Kavanagh was bearing right down on goal for a certain goal chance. It looked as though the referee penalised him from the hand pass, that it was a throw, and then I think obviously something was said, a bit of indiscipline, and the referee has brought the ball forward as the players were they'd started the game without the referee. I think they were fed up waiting, so they decided to get on with it, but they've had to be brought back, and things have been calmed down slightly as I see a yellow card looks to be issued.
Ronan
I'm
Hines,
not sure who there.
Yeah, Ronan Hines certainly wasn't ready. He was down having a chat with his umpires when Kilmeena decided to take the free and get on with the game, but quick thinking there by the linesmen Michael McGurl and Chris Ryan. They had to step in and call a halt. So Ronan Hines has spoken to his umpires. He is making some notes. He hasn't spoken to anybody from either side, and now Kilmeena take the free. So from a position where Strokestown were in on goal, now they're back on the back foot again. But sitting comfortably right now on an 8-point lead are the Roscommon champions. Stephen Staunton for a 2 from out under the stand, and Stephen Staunton hits back for Kilmeena. Their first 2-pointer of the day comes from the boot of their experienced centre back. It was a terrific strike.
Brilliant score from Stephen Staunton. I thought Liam Moore was going to wind one up, and I think he thought better of it, slipped it to Stephen Staunton, and outside of the right from the right wing absolutely nailed it. And it's a big score, and brings it back to a 6-point game, which, with these new rules is not, and that breeze is not an insurmountable task for Kilmeena, but they are going to have to tidy up on a lot of their play at the minute. Their handling, the speed at which they're moving the ball is all kind of slowed down, and they really do need to get moving the ball a lot quicker than they are as they're playing into Stroketown's hands at the minute.
Well, we are watching two battle-hardened and road-tested teams here in this Connacht final. Strokestown having to wear down Éire Óg in a thrilling county final. Kilmeena had to do it the hard way to get rid of Moy Davitz eventually here, and Kilmeena, we know from experience, will not go away. They've just chipped another score back, that time up from defence again. It was Colin Hastings raiding in around the back. They have threats from everywhere and anywhere, and two of their half back line have now hit 3 points in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, really good score from Colin Hastings. A difficult angle to try, left hand pass over the bar from a really acute angle, measured it perfectly, and Kilmeena win the kick out again, and off they go. So this game is all on again.
Well, Strokestown were 8 points up. That lead has been cut to 5 as Kilmeena now gets some momentum and some go-forward momentum. It was Colin Hastings again who carried that ball. This is Stephen Staunton with a hit and hope of his left foot. He just threw it up on the breeze and really did hope for the best, and that's away to the right and well wide. Yeah,
disappointed from Stephen. He'd obviously kicked a brilliant one on the outside the right just before it, but on that occasion comes back in on his weaker left foot. His balance and his standing foot not ready really to strike it, and as a result the shot skewed badly wide, but he had options to his left. Daniel Kelly or Conor Kelly was screaming at him to get the ball, and I think that's important for Kilmeena, that the wind will not get them back into this game alone. They need to move the defenders around and get the ball into the best position and give the ball to the man in the best position, and that's their way back into this game.
Well, from a Strokestown perspective, they've only scored 1 point in this second half. 1 point in the last 16 minutes for the leaders. As the storm clouds gather here in Castlebar, it's got really dark very quickly in the stadium here. As at full stretch there, it's Dylan Casey who manages to win a free for the Rossies, and Kevin Finn arrives on the scene to take over. I'm sure itching to get going again after spending 10 minutes in the sin bin. Down the line to Diarmuid McGann, in over the top for Shane McGinley. He's got a lovely style about him. McGinley though runs into Groden. He was being held, feels the referee Ronan Hines. He spotted a foul there by Kieran Kilcoyne on McGinley, free into Strokestown, but he's such a stylish, elegant wing forward. Easy to see why he's played under 20s for Roscommon in recent seasons, and was actually called up by Davy Burke into the Roscommon senior squad earlier this year as the first wintry rain shower of the day hits McHale Park with a real vengeance. That does not bother Kevin Finn though, who clips over the point for Strokestown to make it 2-11 to 11, but the wind now is really whipped up, Aidan, with some rain mixed in as well.
Yeah, conditions getting all the trickier, and what we've seen so far certainly in terms of handling and execution skills is, Strokestown have been the better in that department, so they'll fancy themselves that's an advantage for them. On that occasion to win the free, Shane McGinley did really well. He's got great balance, he's comfortable on both sides, showed a lovely change of pace and change of direction to get inside Kieran Kilcoyne, and I think probably was fouled in the end and deservedly got us free.
Strokestown have drafted in a sub, and here he is right on cue. Cathal Lavin goes for goal. Groden with the save, still not cleared, and Stephen Tighe into the back of the net for goal number 3. Well, we felt all day long there were more goals in this Strokestown forward line, and that is the cue, that third goal for the Roscommon champions to bring in a couple more of heavy hitters. Cian Corcoran, who togs out a very big man, is gone right into the engine room. Sean McDonald too, as Pierce McGinley now in Strokestown try to go for broke on the back of their third goal that was finished by Stephen Tighe.
Yeah, it's a brilliant goal from Strokestown. Cathal Compton with a superb pass into Cathal Lavin. To be fair to Paul Groden, made a good save, but Cathal Lavin showed good composure when he got the rebound and palmed it across to Stephen Tighe, who applied the finish, and that's a big score now, and it really leaves a big uphill task for Kilmeena now.
Well, it's a man mountain in number 24, Cian Corcoran, who's come into the engine room, and I have to say that Sean McDonnell is a big unit as well. Now Strokestown have got a couple of giants around the middle to try and deal with this Kilmeena comeback, but the goal from Stephen Tighe has really done huge damage as another Gary Owen, a Hail Mary, is launched up into the air by Kilmeena, and that just will not work against this really well-drilled Strokestown defence. And right now the Roscommon champions have Kilmeena right where they want them. They've raced into a 9-point lead again with just over 10 minutes to play. Jack Mulcrone, though, with a chance to make something happen, gives it to Daniel Kelly. Poor effort. Nobody at home in the full forward line, and that was a long way short of hitting the target.
Yeah, very disappointing from Daniel Kelly there. Jack McCrone picked him out with a lovely pass, and he had time, he had space behind, wind behind him. He just didn't make the connection, and that's another one short. I make that 5, if not 6, in this second half alone. The Kilmeena have just dropped short. It's
Mickey Kavanagh on the move into the clear, and Mickey Kavanagh should really have finished. I think he may have been caught in two minds, because he had the option of slipping through Shane McGinley, backed himself, and really misses a glorious chance to extend the Strokestown advantage. But when Strokestown break at pace, they look very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mickey Kavanagh has been central to that all day. He has electric speed, and he showed it again on that occasion. And he'd be very disappointed not to have applied the finish, because it would have been a super score from his point of view.
So 10 minutes to go here at Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar. Strokestown, the 2022 Roscommon senior champions, now on their way, it looks like, to a first ever, a breakthrough Connacht intermediate club title. Kilmeena, well, time running out on the Mayo champions. They have been Connacht junior champions in recent times. They've played in the senior championship in Mayo last year, but they've never won a Connacht intermediate title. They're looking to make history as well, but if they are going to win this, they're going to have to do it the hard way. Jack Carney's loss in this second half really being felt at the moment now, as Ronan O'Donnell tries to break forward on this near side of the field, gives it to Conor Kelly. Now Brian Durkin, two of the substitutes combined. Back to Jack Mulcrone. He's going to wind up for a 2. Mulcrone, it's going to drop short. Keaveney's in after it, just didn't have enough though to get above the defender, who did really well while backpedaling there. I think it was Dylan Casey again who got under the dropping ball, and Strokestown managed to clear their lines, but only momentarily, because Colin Hastings is on the move again. Hastings runs into 4 Strokestown men. The free man is Ronan O'Donnell. Brian Durkin is going to shoot and pulls the trigger instinctively, shoots on sight, and that's wide as well. And this now is beginning to become a real issue for Kilmeena. We've seen it a few times over the course of their championship. They take so many shots that most days, sheer law of averages means they're going to hit 20 points, give or take, and they're going to win most games, but not today.
Yeah, and I think we've seen them a couple of times across the championship, Mike, and usually they're taking shots from the right position, as so to speak, but today their shot selection and decision making, certainly in this second half, it's something that all teams kind of talk about when they're playing with a breeze, is don't just kick it for the sake of it. And I'm sure Damien Egan and his management team will have said the exact same thing at half time, that to still play the ball around and get the ball to the man in the right position. But I don't know if that message has been received on the pitch, because the Kilmeena guys have been taking shots that are definitely not on, and just hoping that the wind is going to drag it over for them, when in reality that's not the case.
Pierce McGinley has just brought in another sub, by the way. Luke Kelly is on for Strokestown, as down this right hand side, David Neary, who has played a starring role for the Roscommon champions, gets involved again. Now it's Colm Neary, who I'm sure will have caught the eye today of the new Roscommon manager, Mark Dowd, who I'm sure is watching on. But so many of these Strokestown players have worn the Roscommon County colours in the recent past, and on today's evidence will do so again in the near future. Here's one of them, Colin Compton, up from the back line. Ball laid off by Jeremy McGann. Player on the ball here is Sean McDonald, who was looking to make an angle for a 2-point shot, but he's been robbed of possession back there. And now a chance for Stephen Staunton and Kilmeena to hit Strokestown on the break. Compton at full stretch gets a hand to that ball to knock it away from Dara Keaveney. Line ball to Kilmeena. Brian Durkin is out in front, the target man now in the Kilmeena forward line. Kevin Ryder, who's going to go for it. He has kicked 2-pointers from here before, but this time Kevin Ryder sees that shot fly away to the right. Well, they've missed chances now from pretty much all distances and all angles.
Yeah, I suppose that time, Kevin Ryder probably was right to take on the shot. He had time, he had space, and he just tried it on the outside the foot and just didn't allow for the breeze. He just pulled it wide on the far side as we look at it, Mike. And I just think looking down at the body language of the Kilmeena players, the shoulders are humped, and they really don't look like a team who are going to get themselves back into this game. And I think that 9-point gap could grow if I'm being real honest, looking at the balance of play here.
Well, despite only scoring a goal and 2 points in this second half, Strokestown have done more than enough to keep Kilmeena at bay. Their scores have really dried up, just 4 for Kilmeena despite the wind, as Pierce McGinley keeps running that bench. Latest player to be called ashore is the third goal scorer, Stephen Tighe. He makes his way off. Job well done for him. And Strokestown now look to manage this game to the final whistle. We're into the last 5 minutes of normal time. Paul Groden, right now, by the way, the Kilmeena goalkeeper, is out at left half forward as Kilmeena throw caution to the wind and throw their goalkeeper into attack. That means, of course, somebody else has to stay at home. And I think the player who's lost out here is Luke Durkin, who's been told to stay where he is as Groden tries to distract somebody's attention. Here's Dara Keaveney, and a really good smart save by Niall Curley, who pushes that away for a 45. Well, that was the goal chance that Kilmeena have been waiting to create. When it came, it fell to Dara Keaveney, but Niall Curley equal to the shot.
Yeah, good save from Niall Curley. At that time Kilmeena did show a little bit of patience in attack, moved the ball through the hands a little bit more, got the ball to Jack McCrone, who picked out Dara Keaveney, who made a lovely run from the sideline inside. And good strike from Dara, probably a little bit central, but the keeper did really well to push it away for 45.
Here's Groden with the 45. He's missed one, and now he's back on track. Paul Groden with the point from the 45, just to keep Kilmeena hanging on in there. By the way, the Strokestown sub, the last player who was introduced, is 23, Evan Moran. So that now means Luke Kelly, Cathal Lavin, Sean McDonald, Evan Moran and Cian Corcoran all in off the bench for the Roscommon champions, who lead here, swinging into the closing stages by 3-11 to 12 points. They're almost there. Paul Groden out at wing forward again for the kick out, now racing back into his goal because Strokestown have secured possession on the opposite wing, and they'll play some keep ball here now just to run down the clock. Kilmeena, it looks like their great adventure is about to come to an end. So much energy expended over the last few weeks getting the better of Caltra and Kulani Mullinabrina, and it looks like that may have caught up with them here against a very good Strokestown team who were ready to go from the word go and have played some really good football to put themselves in this position. Here is one of their main men, Colm Neary, still full of running. Look at him go, moving up through the gears. Colm Neary, well, he's looking to round off a 5-star display, and he has missed there in full flight. I think he may have been going too fast in hindsight, but again, what a run from the dynamic number 9.
Oh, brilliant turn of pace. That's the one striking thing that Strokestown have brought today, is huge pace all over the pitch. They've been able to go past the direct opponent, create overlaps, and that has been a huge problem that Kilmeena have really struggled to get to grips with. But Colm Neary on that occasion, such a turn of pace. Like he totally just ran straight up through the Kilmeena middle 8 and straight through their 6th channel, and he'll be very disappointed he didn't apply the finishing touch, because it would have been a super score.
Damien Egan has sent in a substitute. Conor Feehan is on for Luke Durkin for the closing stages here. Kilmeena's race is run though, and I think when they look back on this game, they will see the injury to Jack Carney has been one of the big turning points. Didn't come back out for the second half. The county man in the Kilmeena midfield and he has been conspicuous by his absence. The concession of the 3 goals as well, doing huge damage to Kilmeena's chances, particularly those 2 first half efforts from Colin Compton and Shane McGinley, as that shot for a score from David Neary works out, and that's the crossbar rattled. Second chance of a goal, and it is absolutely buried by Evan Moran, who almost tore the net off, but David Neary will thank his lucky stars. He got lucky.
I'm just kind of caught a Strokes Town fan really going to town on the celebration down here in front of us. Mike, it's a small bit distracting, but I suppose icing on the cake from a Strokes Town's perspective. And to be fair, they have been the better team. You mentioned there about the loss of Jack Carney, and certainly that's been felt from Kilmeena. They looked in the second half like a team that didn't believe they could get back into this game, and also kind of how they've played. You'd imagine that the leadership Jack would have given, I think he would have been central to them using the ball a little bit better in the second half. But that is not to take away from Strokes Town. They've been by far the better team. They've come here with a game plan, went with the breeze in the first half, got up their lead, and have been full value for it in the second half, played counter-attacking football really well, and did everything that's been required of them.
Here is Brian Durkin looking to hit back for Kilmeena. He gets the score too little too late, though. I think that goal from Evan Moran will be featuring fairly prominently on TikTok and Instagram as well over the next few days. It was another one for the highlights reel. It also brought back memories of the day way back in, I think it was 1989, when the crossbar was broken here in a minor game between Mayo and Roscommon. It was very nearly broken again by that absolute pile driver from Shane McGinley. I think it's still shaking, the Kilmeena crossbar, but finished in the end by Evan Moore. And now Paul Groden is, Paddy Cullen style, a long way out of his goal here, and he is fortunate, I think, to see one of his teammates come to his rescue and make an interception. But Strokes Town, well, they have turned up in a big way. They have brought their A game, and they are going to win this Connacht title in very impressive fashion. We're going to have at least 4 minutes of added time at the end of this second half. But really it is just a matter now for Strokes Town of playing out the clock. Kilmeena, well, they're playing for pride. That's Liam Moore across towards Conor Kelly. Conor Kelly lets fly, and Conor Kelly comes up with a lovely score. 2 in a row for Kilmeena, but the damage already done. But having said all of that, Conor Kelly, well, he's made quite an impact and an impression since he came in, and that's a really good finish.
Yeah, lovely score from Conor Kelly. He's been very busy since he's come on. He's he's obviously very young, but has great athleticism, good return of speed as well, and for his point of view, nice for him to kick a score like that in a Connacht intermediate final.
So 4-11 plays 14 points. That was a 2-pointer from Conor Kelly, one for him to dine out on in days to come. Dangerous ball, it's Paul Groden, and the Kilmeena goalkeeper very nearly put the ball into the net. Now, ironically, he's put the goalkeeper into the net, Niall Curley, his Strokes Town counterpart, and that's why Ronan Hines is going in to speak to the umpires. I think they're trying to just figure out, did the ball cross the line before Niall Curley got to it, or was it a foul on the Strokes Town goalkeeper? It's a push on Curley, it's a free out, but Paul Groden, not for the first time, very nearly made headlines again. Let's take another look.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for the goalkeepers union to judge on, Mike. You wouldn't expect to see the one goalkeeper pushing the other over the line. But to be fair to Niall Curley, I think he made the save, and Paul, his momentum, we'll say, carried him through, and he did make contact to nudge him the rest of the way. Let's say that. But it would have been one for the books for Paul to have come up and score a goal from play.
Well, Paul Groden is a colourful character and is always one of those guys who does something off the cuff every so often, and he very nearly popped up with a goal. Now he's back in his natural habitat, watching that shot from Luke Kelly fly across the face of goal and away to the right and wide. We're into the 4th minute of added time here in Castlebar, and Strokes Town, well, their thoughts will already be turning towards the All-Ireland series. They will be representing Connacht in the next phase of this championship. Kilmeena, well, they will be back in the senior ranks in Mayo next year, and they're in around the back here. It's a goal chance, it's another one, and it's another fine save from Niall Curley to deny Dara Keaveney. It's the second time Keaveney has got into that sort of a position in this second half, and it's the second time that Niall Curley has come to Strokestown's rescue. He's playing like a man possessed, Aidan, a man who is absolutely determined to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, I think the Strokestown treasurer must have some form of clean sheet bonus if for Niall today as an incentive, because he threw himself at that shot with like a man possessed. But all joking aside, really good save, and he's been very good for them as well today. He's done everything that's been asked of him.
So we're into the 5th minute of added time. Niall Curley is having one of those days. So have Strokestown. There goes the full-time whistle. It is heartbreak for Kilmeena. It is joy unconfined for Strokestown. Champions of Roscommon and High Kings of Connacht for 2025. They are the AIB Connacht Intermediate Club Football Champions. A 5-star display on a day when they scored 4 crucial goals and are deserving winners against a Mayo champions who I think in the end just ran out of energy and ideas and time. Strokestown worthy winners.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Strokestown certainly worthy winners. From Kilmeena's point of view, I think they did run out of a bit of energy. It did look like a somewhat leggy performance. Just that little bit of sharpness was missing for them, unfortunately, from their perspective today. But all credit to Strokestown. I said earlier that they came with a game plan. They moved the ball at huge speed. They've got electric pace throughout that middle eight, especially, and inside with Jeremy McGann and Shane McGinley. They've got two really, really good young talented forwards, and as I say, they were full value for the victory, and I wouldn't like to be coming up against them in an All-Ireland semi-final as they move forward in this competition. I think they'll be definitely have their eyes on going further.
The players and the goal scorers, Aidan, will obviously get a lot of the credit, a lot of the limelight, but let's maybe talk for a few moments about the tactical masterclass as well. Pierce McGinley, the manager, along with Ronan Owens, Conor Silk and Basil Mannion, they came with a really good game plan, and we're going to watch some of the highlights now, but just talk to us about the way they set up and went about their business right out of the blocks.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. They obviously, you mentioned a couple of times in commentary, Mike, about having their homework done, and they certainly did. One of the big matchups that I think was key in this game was they moved Culmneary from midfield to wing forward and put him directly on Jack Mulcrone in the first half, and that had a dual consequence in the sense that Culmneary was getting the better of Jack Mulcrone driving forward, but it was keeping Jack Mulcrone away from his attacking threat that he's been so good for Kilmeena throughout this whole championship. And then they moved Colm Compton onto Jack Carney, and he was starting to get the better of that battle, and in that kind of second quarter where Strokestown really started to dominate. And the last thing they did then was obviously they moved Shane McGinley inside and had him and Jeremy McGann inside as a kind of a focal point of their attack when they were playing with the wind, and they made hay while the sun shines, so to speak, and they dominated midfield. They put a big squeeze on Paul Groden's kick out, and once they won the ball on the ground, they were going at full tilt for the full hour, and a seriously impressive performance, and they should be incredibly pleased and incredibly proud of the performance they've put in today.
Just from a Kilmeena point of view, when Damien Egan and his management team reflect back on this performance, what do you think is going to be most disappointing, or where will most of the regrets come from?
I think the most disappointing thing, if I was in Damien's shoes, I think was midfield in the first half, they certainly were dominated, and they won't be pleased with that, especially on breaking ball. Anything that went to ground, Strokestown were first to it and looked to have that bit between the teeth. But I think the most disappointing thing will be in the second half, the failure from Kilmeena to stick to their game plan, stick to the tried and trusted. They really, I don't know, did they get carried away with the breeze, or what was going through their heads? Were they just trying to force it because they were behind? But time and time again they came up the pitch pitch, and they were working so hard to turn over the ball, especially their forwards. They were working really hard to turn over the ball, and then they were just kicking it away through bad decision making, shots going short. As I say, I think there was 5 or 6 in that second half, and their kind of adherence to their game plan and sticking to it, and their shot selection was something that really let them down. Albeit we just look at one of the better ones from Stephen Staunton there as he kicked a great 2-pointer.
Well, you can see right now just how disappointed and devastated Kilmeena are after losing this game. Came up against a Strokestown team that were really fired up as we watch Stephen Tighe tapping home goal number 3, and that's a reminder, Aidan, of just the quality of some of Strokestown's attacking play, and the 4 goals in particular that did so much damage. They were all well finished, all very different goals in their own way. Here's goal number 4 coming now. McGinley almost broke the crossbar and finished to the net emphatically by Evan Moran, but 4 goals in a Connacht final is good going.
Yeah, it's great going, and they could have had 6 or 7 if we're being really honest. As I say, the attacking brand of football that they play is really, really nice to watch. It's pure power, it's pure pace. They come with such great lines of running from deep to create overlaps around the middle, and then, as I say, if the runners aren't causing trouble, they have the option to go direct inside to the 2 lads, to Shane McGinley and Jim McGann. And also, to be fair, Keith Murphy was really good as well. He probably plays maybe somewhat second fiddle to the 2 other guys, but himself and even Stephen Tighe, like they had, and Mickey Kavanagh as well. I'm just looking here at the programme, like they had 6 forwards there, and you could make an argument that all 6 of them had the better of their individual battles, and from a Kilmeena perspective, that's going to be very difficult to get a win when your 6 backs are under so much pressure.
Well, there is the prize that both teams were competing for today, the Connacht Intermediate Championship Trophy. It will be presented very shortly to the Strokestown captain. That's Colin Compton, the man who scored the first goal to put them on their way. But Aidan, that I suppose is a good opportunity for us to talk for a few moments about these provincial championships. You played for Knockmore at a time before they were introduced. Your career then overlapped with the introduction of the Connacht Championships. What a wonderful initiative they have been, what a success they have been, and we're actually going to go across now to the main stand. Hugh Lynn of the Connacht Council is currently speaking, and then very shortly we're going to hear from the president of the Connacht Council as well, Vincent Neary. Well, in fact, while we're waiting for the presentation, just to go back to that point, Aidan, the introduction of the provincial championships, it's brought a whole new lease of life to the season for club players, and you can see how much it means to the likes of Strokestown today.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a club player, it's not often you get to play competitive games against clubs from other provinces, obviously, unless it's challenge matches and things like that. So it has that sense of a novelty about it, but it means so much. It keeps that that club season going. Unfortunately, from my perspective as a player, never got the opportunity to go into a provincial championship with Knockmore, but that to keep the journey going. I know from when the Knockmore lads did get to the Connacht final in 2021, the opportunity to be continuing to go to training and preparing for these big games leading into Christmas, like it's wonderful, and it keeps things going. And for these players, it's very, very special, and for Strokestown today to have won a provincial title, it's absolutely massive for them. And they've had, obviously, in recent past some brilliant days in Roscommon, not long ago senior Roscommon senior champions, and now Connacht intermediate champions. A great platform for them to go on and be more successful.
I'm smiling here because, having said all of that, ironically, they're in no particular hurry to go and collect the cup here. They're right now, the Strokestown players, they're out on the field just drinking in the moment with their families and friends, and that's why Hugh Lynn is having to call for a second time for Colin Compton and company to come and join him in the main stand for the presentation. But you can understand why Strokestown, having expended so much effort and energy to win this game, just want now to enjoy the moments. And now shortly I see Colin Compton making his way up to the presentation area. What a few years it's been for Strokestown, as Aidan said, senior champions in Roscommon in 2022, and I was only reminded during the week the unusual distinction that they lost 3 games that season and still went on to win a county senior title. So it's one for the quiz buffs out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and they've rode kind of the crest of the wave. And like, to be fair to them, it was unexpected by all accounts the year they did win it, and then obviously, to have the disappointment of being relegated not long after that. But they've dusted themselves down. They've obviously approached this intermediate championship within Roscommon with great vigour and gone about things in the right way. Got their county championship win, and had a tough game last week against the Leitrim champions as well. So they're full value for this victory, and I don't blame them one bit for maybe being a little bit slow to make their way across to get the trophy, because it's that group of people that they're surrounded with now that's been with them from underage, you'd imagine, their friends, their family, their club mates, and people from around their club that follow the team throughout the last I'm sure 10-12 years perhaps, even with this group of players. So I don't begrudge them taking their time to get over across the pitch whatsoever. I think it's special moments that they're enjoying right now, and all good luck to them. They fully deserve it.
Well, I was reading during the week, Strokestown famous for having the second widest street in Ireland, home of the National Famine Museum as well, and now home of the 2025 Connacht Intermediate Football Champions, as we now do cross to the main stand, to the presentation area, and the next voice you're going to hear is that of Vincent Neary of Bonnyconlon and Mayo, President of the Connacht Council.
Our son, Cora Connacht, Wayne and Fodger Corlaga, in young Sean and you. Just on behalf of Connacht Council, I'd like to welcome everyone here today. And before we move on, I'd ask John Printy to present the Man of the Match award to number 12 for Strokestown, Shane McGinley. Well done, Shane. Well done. Congratulations to Strokestown on a magnificent victory here today. A really polished performance from start to finish. Commiserations to Kilmeena. He had a great year, and you're county champions and up senior again next year. So commiserations, but you'll have better days. I'd like to thank our referee, Ronan Hines, and all his officials, and also all involved here in McHale Park for the condition of the pitch. It was absolutely fabulous. Strokestown are now our Connacht champions. And we wish them the very best in the All-Ireland series from here on in. And certainly if they produce a performance like they did today, they'll be well there for the rest of the season. Thanks too to AIB for their continued sponsorship of the club championships. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to present the Jean Byrne Cup to the winning captain, Colin Compton. Incredible privilege to be the first Strokestown man to win a Connacht Cup. Firstly, just a few words for Kilmeena. You've been incredible champions. You've been on an odyssey the last 4 or 5 years. We knew today we'd have to bring our best game of the year, and lucky for us it happened, because we knew that's what was going to be needed to turn you over. You've been a credit to your club, to Mayo, the past number of seasons, and I wish you all the best in the future. I'd like to thank Connacht Council, the OGA for hosting us here today. Kilmeena Park looks incredible. I'd like to thank the officials.
officials, the ref, the umpire, linesmen, everyone involved today who's made today run so smoothly, and everyone who's done such a great job and made it such a memorable day. And now to the victors. It's been an incredible year, boys. I felt we were a bit run off before today. We know midfield, but I think our midfield turned up today anyways. To the management team, Baylor, Baz, Gary, Connor, Shovels, to Aaron, doing the video work, to Kevin Farts and College with S&C, to Joanne, to everybody, Fergal, everybody who's helped us along the year. This is for you. And again, to everyone who's supporting the club, doing the underage coaching, everyone that's turning up day in and day out to help this club run. This is one of the great days. There's a lot of hard days that have to be put into one of these days, but today is one of the good ones and we'll remember it forever. I'd just like to thank our sponsors as well, Sportsman's, Scott Hunter and Frank Hanley and Eurospar. Their support, it's never forgotten, and a lot of things wouldn't be able to happen without it. We thank them very much. And that's basically it, guys. We'll go back to town, we'll enjoy this, we'll get a great Christmas out of it, and we'll see you in the new year.
Speech by Colin Compton, the Strokestown captain. The Jean Byrne Cup heading back to Strokestown tonight, and as Colin said, they will knock a great Christmas out of it as well. The man of the match, Shane McGinley. What a performance by the Strokestown forward. That's it from us on Connacht GA TV this afternoon. My thanks to Aidan Kilcoyne, our co-commentator, for his company and analysis all through the afternoon. Thanks as well to our producer Rory O'Brien on site here in Castlebar, and last but not least, our thanks to James Conlon, our cameraman, who celebrated his birthday here in Castlebar this afternoon, and I know wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and I'm reliably informed they will be stopping for a few birthday treats on the way back to Sligo this evening. But from all of us on Connacht GA TV, we hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the AIB Connacht Intermediate Football Final from Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar. Strokestown have beaten Kilmeena 4-11 to 14 points. Until next time, take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.